Breaking news from KION News Channel 546.
We begin with that breaking news tonight. The first sign of destruction from a magnitude 7.1 earthquake near Ridgecrest, California tonight. The same area hit by yesterday's earthquake, but this one is significantly larger.
The USGS is saying it's all part of what's called the same sequence. Again, a magnitude 7.1 near Ridgecrest. That's the latest update from the U.S. Geological Survey. This area is about 150 miles away from Los Angeles, where we've already seen reports of swaying all over the city, and that can continue for a long time after tonight.
A magnitude 7 usually has aftershocks that last for years.
Yeah, so the expectation is we're going to have aftershocks tonight. It's going to continue on.
We've already had reports of damage in Ridgecrest, and then a lot of local reaction tonight. And in the region, you saw they felt it in Vegas. Also, a lot of people saying they felt it in Salinas and other parts of the Central Coast as far up north as the Bay Area and Modesto. And with that, we want to get right out to our Weather Authority Chief Meteorologist Dan Cianca. And this is a lot larger than what we saw yesterday.
Yeah, the scale, Aaron, is a lot larger. We go from a 6.0 to a 7.0. That's 10 times as big. So in this case, a 6.4 to a 7.1 turns out to be about 5 times as large as the previous one. So that's just since yesterday. And that 7.1 ties it as number 5 on the list of strongest earthquakes recorded in the state of California in the last 100 years or so, dating actually all the way back to the great earthquake in San Francisco back in 1900. So very strong earthquake. Again, that 7.1, it happened around 8:19 p.m. At 8:22 here in our studio, I was sitting here having some dinner, and I felt dizzy for a second. I was listening to some music, and then someone behind me said earthquake, and we looked up and we could see some of the lights swaying in the room. And this was a different feeling, I think, than a lot of the other closer quakes that we feel. A lot of the smaller quakes which occur on the San Andreas Fault, which is, you know, right in our backyard, basically, give us a little bit of a jolt. That's what it typically feels like to me. You can usually hear it. We didn't hear this one at all. It felt like this wave, like a wave went through the entire room and just rolled through slowly. It was a very strange feeling here, 235 miles away from the epicenter of this 7.1. Now I'm going to zoom in a little bit for you here in the Ridgecrest area. Here was the 7.1, yesterday's quake, the 6.4. Farther south, we've had aftershocks and foreshocks in the 5 range, several of them, in fact. There are 2 fault lines, one that goes here and one that goes here. So the first one yesterday was on this southwest to northeast oriented fault, and then today's on this northwest to southeast oriented fault. And again, this is what's called a strike slip fault. These fault lines, the 2 land masses on each side going back and forth like the San Andreas Fault, and different from other fault lines that have like a thrust. That these are the ones where you typically get tsunamis if they happen in the ocean because one area is pushed up. In this case, we're going laterally. So we'll have more on the earthquake coming up, and of course your weather forecast is coming up as well.
Yeah, this is considered the main earthquake as part of this sequence. Dan, thank you very much. We're now hearing what it's like to be on the ground, is so close to the epicenter. Tonight, a glimpse at the damage already being seen there.
Camila Bernal is there tonight with her experience.
We're actually feeling an aftershock right now. That 7.1 earthquake about 11 miles from where we're standing, and so many aftershocks ever since. You could see everything shaking, and I just want to describe a little bit of what we felt during that 7.1 shake. The ground underneath you just absolutely moves, things going from side to side. I essentially didn't know where to go, and it is hard to describe what you feel during those seconds of panic. They are seconds that feel very long, seconds that I went and looked outside the window and saw everything shaking. There was a pool outside, and that pool was full of waves, the water just coming out. All of us then going outside after that quake because, of course, everybody asking, everybody trying to figure out exactly what's going on, and everybody checking on each other. I did speak to some of the residents in this area who've lived here their entire lives here in Ridgecrest, and they were telling me that the first thing that they did was hug their loved ones. I spoke to a mother who says she grabbed onto her baby, and that is the only thing that she could do during those seconds that the ground was shaking. They said that this one was a lot stronger, a lot longer than what they felt on July 4th on that 6.4 quake. And authorities now saying that the 7.1 is the actual earthquake. They're saying that that July 4th 6.4 is now a foreshock. But we have felt a number of aftershocks ever since. Like I said, the ground continues to shake even as we speak. Now, authorities have responded very quickly. saw the police lights, the sirens immediately after we felt that 7.1 shake. We know that they came out, put out fires that we believe were caused by these gas leaks right after the quake. So authorities have been on the ground responding to medical emergencies and to the fires. We also know that there is a search and rescue team in place in case things get worse, and they will assess the damage as the sun comes out. Reporting in Ridgecrest, California, I'm Camila Burnell. Back to you.
So the fault is growing. We ruptured a piece in the first earthquake. We ruptured a bit more in the 5.4 this morning, and we're rupturing more now.
The Central Coast hasn't seen a strong earthquake in decades. The last time we had one as strong as this one was the Loma Prieta earthquake back in 1989. And you saw how serious quakes this size are. That came in at a 6.9. Here's some of the damage done from that. Its epicenter was about 10 miles northeast of Santa Cruz. 63 people died and there were over 3,500 injuries.
We can feel tremors here in the building, the scores here.
This quake tonight was felt strongly in Las Vegas. NBA Summer League play came to a stop as speakers and scoreboards in the arena began to sway there. In Los Angeles, the Dodgers-Padres game went on despite the shaking, but there was strong movement from the cameras. And shaking also being felt in Hollywood. You're looking at a tower camera that shook in the Hollywood Hills. Again, a big impact more than 150 miles away from the epicenter near Ridgecrest there in Kern County. And watch, as you saw earlier, this pool in Southern California, the water pouring out from that quake. The movement there. We're going to continue following this latest on the most recent earthquake and bring you any breaking news updates online on our app as well. KION 546. Download it to have those alerts sent straight to your phone.
And this latest quake comes as people across the state are still trying to recover from Thursday's, a magnitude 6.4, which also struck near Ridgecrest. Some homes still haven't been put back together. You see what the fire damage did at this house. A local library, books fell all into the aisle there.
We're just so thankful it was closed. Because can you imagine those books falling on some poor kid?
Yeah, this quake left many wondering when the next so-called big one will be. Seismologists say the likelihood didn't increase or decrease, but we just saw what happened tonight. It's a much larger magnitude, 7.1.
Many of us here on the Central Coast didn't feel anything on Thursday, but tonight's much more likely, though, and it's been years again, like we said, since we've had a significant quake.
But that doesn't mean you shouldn't be prepared for more.
Red Cross officials say it's still smart to have a plan before the shaking starts. As KION's Ashley Keene tells us, it's not just about what you need, also what you need to know.
It's been decades since the Central Coast has seen a significant earthquake, but after yesterday's 6.4 in Southern California, it has some people thinking about how prepared they actually are.
Definitely does. Definitely have a meetup spot with family and friends in case of an earthquake, but a kit I do not have, and that's what I need to have.
This whole situation has made me rethink, a future quake.
Out of the 20 people I approached today, only 2 of them had some sort of kit prepared, but said they needed to make a few additions.
Just like first aid kit, and like candles and flashlights and stuff. But we could probably use like a lot of water.
It's just my wife and I, but I would say we know what to do, but we don't have a kit.
Jim Burns with the American Red Cross says it's not only essential to have a kit, but know what to do during and after.
Once the ground starts shaking, communications devices may not work, so it's important to have talked through where you might go if you're in school, where a good pickup place would be. And of course, drop, cover, and hold on during an earthquake.
Officials say it's also extremely important to know how to shut your gas off. If you hear it leaking or can smell it, the valve is usually located next to the meter, and you'll need a wrench. As we saw yesterday, several fires started from what's believed to be ruptured gas pipelines. USGS officials also add just because we saw one big quake doesn't mean we're out of the woods.
This does not make it less likely. There is about a 1 in 20 chance that this location will be having an even bigger earthquake within the next few days.
It could be us next time.
Get out! Come on!
And take a look at this. Officials are investigating a house fire reportedly started by fireworks. This is in Denver, Colorado, capturing the moment a firework landed in the yard there. Now, incredibly, a Good Samaritan saw that bush catch fire and ran in to help, but the fire was soon out of control.
Stay here, the house is gonna burn down. Come on, get her out. Get her out. house is burning, ma'am. Ma'am, the house is burning. Is there anyone else in there?
Firefighters arrived minutes later, saving the house, but you saw the heroics that already happened from, again, that Good Samaritan and the damage already done. It's an incident that proves the dangers of illegal fireworks and the threats they pose. More firework dangers tonight, this time in Texas. Deputies are investigating a road rage incident at a gas station. A family driving a pickup involved in a fight with another car. The driver appears to fire a gun, and that sparked all those fireworks that were in the back seat. The driver and 2 children were seriously burned. We go to Santa Cruz County now, and it was a fire that police say was ignited by illegal fireworks. It shows it doesn't take much to spark another. Law enforcement plans to continue what they're calling illegal lighters.
Here's a look at the loads of fireworks confiscated by Watsonville PD this week. Officers were able to fill this dumpster that you'll see to the top after last night. They say, there it is, they followed up on at least 20 violations and found many minors were behind them. Kids are given fines of up to $2,000 when caught lighting illegal fireworks, and residents say they heard them all night.
Like every other 5 minutes they were going off constantly. This year was pretty loud.
I also saw some people with the illegal fireworks, and I didn't see no cops around them.
Watsonville police say they received a bunch of calls about illegal fireworks, but without an exact address, they are difficult to track down. So officers recommend calling with a specific street name and a specific house number. They say this will help them stop more people from shooting these illegal fireworks, and they say their strict enforcement period will carry on through the weekend as well as next week.
In your crime alert late this morning, CHP officers responded to a crash near Cabrillo College in Aptos. The driver hit a fence and then ran off, leaving an injured passenger behind. A college employee later spotted the woman hiding in some trees and called CHP. She was arrested for felony DUI and hit and run.
News around the state now. The Assembly has approved a bill that would spend up to $130 million a year to improve drinking water. About 1 million people in California don't have access to clean drinking water. The bill would take some money out of a fund used to improve air quality and instead use it to improve water quality. The state assembly approved that proposal today, sending it to the state Senate. Presidential candidate Kamala Harris said today that she raised $12 million in the last 3 months. That's about half of what frontrunner Joe Biden took in. It's been a week since the Democrats debated, and Harris and Biden are still going back and forth on issues like race and forced busing. The two spoke at an education forum in Houston today.
Were you prepared for them to come after you?
I was prepared for them to come after me, but I wasn't prepared for the person coming at me the way she came out. She knew Bo, she knows me.
It was the first time at the same event since this heated exchange during last week's presidential debate. In an interview with CNN, the former vice president admitted Harris's pointed attack caught him off guard. On CNN, though, Biden wouldn't say if he'd select Harris as his running mate if he became the nominee, and instead focused on President Trump. Speaking of President Trump, adding the citizenship question to the 2020 census is still in question. Today, a federal judge rejected the Department of Justice's request to delay reopening that case in Maryland. Instead, the judge set an evidentiary hearing for September 3rd. The government wanted more information on the Trump administration's plans for adding the question before moving forward. The Supreme Court ruled last week against adding the citizenship question. An administration official stressed that as of now, the census will be printed without that question. But President Trump said as recently as in the last 24 hours that he does want that question on there. Climate change affects a lot of things these days. The effects it's now having on wine crops.
Plus, a mama and baby bear out for a stroll in one Southern California neighborhood.
And later, the environmental benefits behind a first-of-its-kind floating dairy farm.